Part 70. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 691. Chapter 691 Pregnancy. Fang Xiaohui came out of the bathroom covering her mouth. The face is gloomy. I am pregnant. Counting the dates, she knew that the child belonged to brother Yang. Around that time, Song Mohuan went on a business trip. He was away for a full half a month. The child is exactly 1 month old now. If it is Song Mohuan's child, it is impossible to tell now. Fang Xiaohui gritted her teeth. Subconsciously, she knew that she could not keep the child, but she had no choice but to keep the child. If you go to the hospital for an abortion, you need a certificate and your husband needs to accompany you. If Song Mohuan knew about this child, it would be revealed in a matter of time that the child was not his, and they were in the health system. If Song Mohuan didn't even understand this common sense, he would be a doctor in vain. This Yang brother killed himself. Fang Xiaohui was filled with resentment. This child has become a hot potato. Fang Xiaohui never thought that she would be pregnant with brother Yang's child, but that incident has made it impossible to end now. He returned to the nurse's station in a panic. Head nurse, someone called you just now. The young nurse handed her a piece of paper with a phone number on it, and the other party asked her to call her back. Fang Xiaohui smiled and thanked the person. When she looked at the phone number, her heart sank. She could tell at a glance that it was brother Yang's phone number. The last time she asked brother Yang to sell the 2 children, brother Yang asked her to send money when he came back from finishing the work. Fang Xiaohui made an excuse and said that the 2 of them should reduce contact for a while, in case someone discovered them. If the 2 are in contact, the child's affairs will become a big deal. Brother Yang is quite reasonable. We haven't contacted him for more than a month. I didn't expect that he would find me again just now. I guess I am thinking about the money in my hand. Fang Xiaohui watched as her unlucky value rose to 2,000. Of course she knew it was because she put 2 more unlucky charms on the 2 little guys. These 2 little guys have now helped her earn 500 bad luck points. She felt a little disadvantaged. 2 children used 2 unlucky charms, but they only had 500 unlucky values. This is not cost effective. I spent 200 on this bad luck charm myself, so I earned 300 bad luck points when I put it together inside and outside. I don't know whether the 2 children had no chance of misfortune in the countryside, or whether there was no room for misfortune in the poor mountains and rivers. Fang Xiaohui glanced at the phone and dialed it. If he hadn't called brother Yang, this man would have dared to show up at the door of their hospital when he got off work today. She can't let this man appear in the eyes of everyone. I get off work at 5:30 today. I will go over there after get off work and you can get your things ready. Fang Xiaohui hung up the phone coldly. Brother Yang whistled over there and hung up the phone. He has been living a good life recently. He has moved out of that house and found his 3 subordinates. The 4 of them now rent another place, which is a separate courtyard. There are 3 rooms in the yard, plus a small courtyard. This is more convenient if you want to do something, and it also avoids being seen. Given that the landlord always bullied him as a blind man. Brother Yang is a grudge-bearing person. 1 month after he moved away from his landlord, he sent 3 brothers to sneak into the landlord's house in the middle of the night. The landlord's house was ransacked. All valuable things were taken away, and more than 1,500 yuan was stolen from the landlord's house, which was the landlord's rent for this month. He is a tenant there, so he naturally knows when the landlord collects rent. Counting on the good times, this money can be regarded as compensation for the various expenses that have been deducted from me by the landlord these days. The 3 brothers followed him and were considered popular drinkers. Of the 1,500 yuan, he kept 1,000 yuan and let them share the rest. In addition to the electrical appliances, bicycles and other things stolen from the landlord's house, they were sold and exchanged for a total of 200 yuan. He doesn't want any of this small money. The three people below were simply going crazy with joy. They felt that their eldest brother had made such a big noise just after he came back, and they could finally live a good life. The only thing that Brother Yang is unhappy about is that the three of them are still too young, and their skills are not good enough. It is a pity that he was Dahe back then. If Dahe was still alive, how could he think highly of these subordinates? He planned to do business on his own, and money was still necessary, so he urged Fang Xiaowai. With the thousands of dollars he had on hand, he didn't spend too much money. From this sale of children, he reaped the benefits, so he thought that he might as well think about this kind of business by himself. Recently he has established a line. What the other party does is not human trafficking, but what he does is not a visible purchase. This one is more unethical. The problem is which one makes more money. Originally, he also wanted to do this kind of business of selling children, selling eldest daughters, and young wives. After all, he had often heard that the bachelors in the poor valleys could not afford a wife, and the family might save money just to buy a wife to take home and carry on the family line. But he thought about it for a long time. How much money could he make by selling a daughter-in-law and a girl? This kind of business carries high risks, and he cannot do first-hand business. When the time comes, he will still be exploited inside and outside by other people's traffickers. What he wants to do is a first-hand business. He has already inquired about it, and has even contacted his next home in the past 2 days. Of course he is the boss himself, but he has to spend money to purchase goods. Originally, he didn't want to push Fang Xiaowai into a hurry. After all, Fang Xiaowai was very profitable here. Fang Xiaowai had a ready-made handle on her, but those two children were tricked by Fang Xiaowai. There is nothing good for Fang Xiaowai to give herself up. After doing such a big thing for him, is it possible that Fang Xiaowai still doesn't want to shut her mouth? So he was ready to take 45,000 yuan this time, and then ask for another 50,000 yuan later. This is a way to make money. Besides, this woman's tender skin and tender meat taste really good. He thought that he might as well get some benefits if Fang Xiaowai came to visit her this time. Brother Yang laughed so maliciously that he had to go back. I asked my subordinates to buy good wine and food. Anyway, Fang Xiaowai got off work at 5:30, so it would only be 6 o'clock when she arrived at her place. Let everyone go out and relax. The fewer people know about this, the better. Fang Xiaowai called Song Mohuan before leaving get off work and asked her to pick up her children after get off work. Song Mohuan didn't have any surgery today. He got off work early, so Fang Xiaowai made an excuse to go back to Fang's house. Looking at my adoptive father, I heard that his adoptive father has been in poor health for the past 2 days. Song Mohuan naturally wouldn't say anything. Over the years, Song Mohuan has become accustomed to obeying his wife's words. Besides, his daughter-in-law is being filial to the old man when she goes back to see her adoptive father. This is something she should do. How could he object? Fang Xiaowai asked for leave from get off work half an hour early. She said she was asking for leave. In fact, no one usually remembered this, so it was just an excuse. Took his wallet and went to the bank to withdraw 20,000 yuan. She didn't give Brother Yang any sweetness at all. She knew she wouldn't be able to pass that level. Of course she is planning to trick the photo out. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 692. Chapter 692 Need a bank book. Fan Jiangguo went home and rummaged through the boxes and cabinets to find something. Lu Huilai's heart skipped a beat when she saw that posture. Jiangguo, what are you looking for? It must not be a bank book. Fan Jiangguo smiled and said, they recently found a new way for me. I plan to go there and see how it goes. I heard from the U country in the south that it's very easy to get bananas from there. Make money. One of my friends can earn 30,000 to 40,000 yuan from one business trip. I thought the baby will be born in 2 months. I can come back and make trouble in half a month at most, which costs 30,000 to 40,000 yuan. I'm going to have some fun, and I'll keep an eye on you and the child when I get back. When you finish confinement, I will run again next time. This way I can earn hundreds of thousands more a year. Fan Jiangguo's words shocked Lu Huilai. Is it also hundreds of thousands? Where is our bank book? Take it out for me quickly. I remember there is still 100,000 yuan in it. Fan Jiangguo has become very ambitious since his wife had a child. He wants to buy more family property and pass it down to his children in the future. Lu Huilai smiled and said, Jiangguo, come here. Sit down and let's talk for a while. In the past, when Lu Huilai heard that Fan Jiangguo had such a profitable business, she would have naturally wanted her man to go. You can earn hundreds of thousands a year. But now she has spent 60,000 yuan in her bank book. What does she say about the remaining 40,000 yuan? This matter can only be concealed and cannot be discovered by Fan Jiangguo. If Fan Jiangguo discovers that he has a small idea behind his back, the passbook can still be kept by yourself. Fan Jiangguo stopped rummaging through things and came to his wife with a smile. Ever since my daughter-in-law became pregnant with the child, her temper has changed day by day. Do you want to eat something new again? Tell me what you want to eat. If I leave, I will send Xiao Wang to ask you what you want to eat every day. Asking him to help buy it will definitely not work. Thanks to you and the kids. Fan Jiangguo looked at his wife's belly with loving eyes. They all said that their wife's child was a son, and he also wanted a son, but it was not that he favored sons over daughters. But having a son can help him inherit the family business. Besides, I have long heard from above that the family planning program has started. If he didn't have a son, and he didn't dare to have more children, then not only would he be fined, but I heard he would also have to lose his job. While the business of the store that I contracted is stable, I certainly don't want any accidents to happen again. It would be best to have 2 babies at one time, but the doctor also said that his wife would have 1 child. How great it would be if I could give birth to twins at once like my niece. Lu Huilai took Fan Jiangguo's hand and said, Jiangguo, our business is quite stable. You should not do those risky things. You also know that I am about to give birth in more than a month. In case you are not at home, there is something good here, but there is no backbone in my heart. You said that your mother is the only one at home. What if something happens then? If you really want to do it, wouldn't it be okay for you to go after I give birth to the baby and my confinement period? Fan Jiangguo knew as soon as he thought about it that his daughter-in-law was afraid. He also knew that the daughter-in-law of the Lu family next door had given birth to a baby 2 days ago and suffered severe bleeding and almost died. That's all right. Don't worry, my wife, don't worry. I'll wait for you to finish your confinement. Why don't you go there first? But give me your bank book first. I need money to buy goods. As you know, it's August 15th soon. Food the factory is holding an investment fair and I have to order a batch of goods. Our mooncakes and biscuits sell the fastest. If we don't order in advance, we will have nothing to sell. Purchasing a batch of mooncakes and biscuits on August 15th is something we often did in previous years. Every time they collect this, they have to use their family's savings. There is no way the store's turnover is not enough to store so many things at once. How dare Lu Huilai take out her bank book? How much do you need this time? I'll just prepare it for you tomorrow and save you a trip. 40,000 yuan. It's not much. I just think it's tiring for you to have a big belly. I can't do anything that I don't need you to make this trip. Give me your bank book and Xiaolu and I will go there tomorrow. Just the bank. Fan Jiangguo didn't care, he really loved his wife. Seeing how much his nephews and sons-in-law love their daughter-in-law, he, as an uncle, should of course set an example. Lu Huilai felt uncomfortable on her face. Don't worry about it. How big can my belly be? I'll get it for you tomorrow. What do you think this is? By the way, I want to take my mother over and live here for a few days. You can also knowing that I was about to give birth, I felt a little scared. If my mother was here, someone would still be able to take care of me. Fan Jiangguo was not happy when he heard this. Since my father passed away, I have lived alone with my son. Fan Jiangguo knew that his eldest brother was not unfilial, but he still had a lot of things to do. My ex-sister-in-law and my nephew caused such a big disaster. Now the eldest brother can't even repair the holes. Although he has money, for the sake of his dignity, he can't go up and help him pay back the money. Besides, he has money. The eldest brother also refused. My mother has been following me, especially after I married my daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law is pregnant and her mother is very busy, so the daughter-in-law never says anything good about her. Although it is said that there are natural conflicts between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, my mother-in-law and daughter-in-law are also very good at it. Why can't my daughter-in-law treat her mother as her own? Forget it, let's talk about it later. Just give me the bank book. I'll go to the bank and get it directly. It has to be sent directly to the food factory tomorrow. You won't be able to get it tomorrow. Fan Jiangguo didn't want to continue this topic, otherwise his wife would start to mess around again. Knowing that he married a young and beautiful daughter-in-law, of course he gave in to her at every turn. But you can't just let your wife pay the penalty directly. Sometimes the eldest sister can't stand it and says she wants to take my mother over to stay for a few days, but her mother is reluctant to bear the grandson in her daughter-in-law's belly. As a son, he cannot really forget his mother when he has a wife. If he really did that, I guess my eldest sister could break his legs. Fan Jiangguo is a little angry. Lu Huilai was impatient. Jiangguo, I said I would go to the bank to get it for you tomorrow. What's the matter with you? Do you not trust me? In fact, Lu Huilai acted like this to cover up her guilty conscience. She was afraid to take out her bank book. If Fan Jiangguo knew about it, there would be 40,000 yuan left in the bank book. This is going to be a bad day. Fan Jiangguo couldn't help but squint his eyes. He had been in business for so many years and was not a fool. He became suspicious when he heard his wife's words. Did you send money to your mother's family again? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 693. Chapter 693. A strange combination of circumstances. Lu Huilai looked pale and held her belly. Challenged Fan Jiangguo aggressively. Fan Jiangguo, what do you mean? You don't believe me, do you? I am your daughter-in-law. My natal family has no money, but you can't look down on my natal family. Okay, you can stay at home for me. Wait, I will go to the bank to withdraw money for you now, so that you will not believe me in your heart. Huilai, that's not what I meant. Wife, listen to me. Fan Jiangguo felt a little worried when he saw his wife getting angry. He was afraid that his wife would really get angry because she was pregnant after all. What do you mean by that? Do you mean that I married you for your money? In your eyes, I am such a person. Since you don't believe me so much, why did you give me the bank book? I said let my mother come stay at home and look at the face you put on. Co-author: my mother's family are not human beings. Okay, Fan Jiangguo, I finally understand. You don't treat me as one of your own family members, and you treat me like a thief in your heart. I'm going to take out the bank book now. From now on, We will return to the bridge and the road to the road. I will go back to my parents' home and live my own life. If this child is born with the surname of Lu, it has nothing to do with you. Lu Huilai went to rummage through the boxes with her belly full. When Fan Jiangguo saw his wife getting angry, he was afraid that she would hurt the child. Slow down, slow down. I'm not angry anymore. How could I not believe you? I brought you home to live with you wholeheartedly. If I didn't live with you wholeheartedly, how could I lose all my bank books? I leave the property to you. Okay, okay, why don't we get angry? It's all my fault. We won't take the bank book, tomorrow. Can you take it out and give it to me? Fan Jiangguo coaxed her in a low voice for a long time, and Lu Huilai finally coaxed Lu Huilai from being gloomy to sunny. Lu Huilai also followed Fan Jiangguo's attitude. She can have her own temper and be petty, but she can't really push her man to a fault. Leaning in Fan Jiangguo's arms, he grabbed Fan Jiangguo's clothes and said aggrievedly, I'm just angry, but you don't believe me. My wholeheartedness is not for our family. I know you think I'm not good to your mother. But do you also know that I can get used to the food your mother cooks? I want to take my mother over, but I don't think she's hanging around me all day long, cooking so much food, and I can't eat it. Don't eat it. The old lady put so much thought and effort into it. Eat it, it is indeed not to my taste, and this child is also a picky eater. I still think that my mother's arrival can lighten the old lady's burden and allow her to have a good rest and stay at my eldest sister's house for 2 days. Who do you think I'm doing this for? I don't even appreciate it when I co-write it with you. I feel like my mother-in-law came here to beat the autumn wind. Do you think I can not be sad? Lu Huilai is very good at this kind of gentle approach, and Fan Jiangguo has no temper at all in just a few words. Okay, Huilai, I misunderstood you. I know you are doing it for my mother's good, okay. I'll go pick up my mother-in-law today, okay. Fan Jiangguo lost all his temper because of what his wife said. He felt that his wife was quite considerate of his mother. Lu Huilai smiled. Okay, let's go out together. There is a bank next to my parents' house. I will go to the bank to withdraw money. You go to pick up my mother, and then come out to pick me up. She was being cautious. She must take out the money, otherwise Fan Jiangguo would definitely be suspicious. However, Fan Jiangguo will definitely be worried if he goes to the bank alone with a big belly tomorrow, and he will accompany him. When you accompany yourself into the bank, you still don't know the amount of money in the passbook. But today, if she supports Fan Jiangguo to pick up her mother and withdraws money from the bank by herself, this is a legitimate reason. In this case, she will get things done and conceal the amount of money in Fan Jiangguo's passbook. Fortunately, Fan Jiangguo saved enough money for himself this time. Thanks to my not being greedy at the time, I really wanted to give all the 100,000 yuan to Fang Xiaowai. It seems that Fang Xiaowai will have to be urged in 2 days. Fan Jiangguo was right. Anyway, this money must be taken out to achieve the goal of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Driving Lu Huilai to the bank, he parked the car directly at the door. This is only 10 minutes away from my mother-in-law's house. It is better to walk there than to drive there. There are quite a lot of people queuing up at the bank right now. I will take my mother-in-law over by myself, and my daughter-in-law will probably be able to finish it here. Fan Jiangguo warned his daughter-in-law for a long time that she should be careful. Of course, she was pregnant now, so others should give her some mercy. Helped my daughter-in-law to her seat, and then hurried to my mother-in-law's house. Lu Huilai looked at her watch. Fan Jiangguo had just left. She couldn't wait until Fan Jiangguo came back before withdrawing the money. It would be easy to reveal her secret by then. She knew that it was only 10 minutes away from her natal home. Lu Huilai held her waist and walked to the young man at the front of the queue, and gently patted his shoulder. The young man turned around and was startled when he saw the pregnant woman with a big belly. "Comrade, I'm so sorry. I'm about to give birth and I want to prepare some money to go to the hospital. My stomach is a little uncomfortable right now. Please see if you can let me withdraw the money first. I'm really sorry to trouble you." Lu Huilai touched her round belly with an apologetic look on her face. She certainly knew how to make others feel humble. Sure enough, when the young man saw the pregnant woman with a big belly, he immediately raised his hands in surrender. "Sister, you come first, it's okay, I have nothing to do, just wait in line for a while. It's so inconvenient for you to have a big belly. Why are you here alone?" Lu Huilai smiled bitterly. "She's not alone. My husband went to pick up my mother. It will probably take 10 minutes before she gets here. Gay men, get out of the way." With the previous things done, Lu Huilai hurriedly walked to the counter and handed over her bank book. "Withdraw 40,000 yuan. The staff at the counter glanced at Lu Huilai. Fan Jiangguo had already walked more than 10 meters out of the bank when he suddenly remembered that his car had not been locked. Had no choice but to turn over and lock the van. "I thought about going into the bank to take a look at my daughter-in-law and telling her to wait a little longer while I withdraw the money and never come out. Waiting in the bank, at least there are so many staff and security guards in the bank, nothing will happen. I heard that things are not very peaceful recently." He walked into the bank and took a look around, only to find that his wife was already in front of him. As I walked over, I saw the staff asking, "After withdrawing 40,000 yuan, there will be no money left in this passbook. Do you want to close the account?" Fan Jiangguo was stunned. He took out all 40,000 yuan? Closing account? It's not like you have 100,000 at home. I heard Lu Huilai smile and say, "No need to spend it, we will still be able to save money after a while." As he picked up the passbook, Fan Jiangguo stood behind Lu Huilai and saw the numbers on the passbook at a glance. 0. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 694. Chapter 694 Exposed. Lu Huilai opened her bag and put money in it. "That man, don't stand behind this lesbian. It's not good. What do you do?" Staff behind bank counters are very vigilant and there have been several robberies recently. They were also worried about any danger, especially since the in front of them was a pregnant woman and had withdrawn such a large amount of money. It would not be good if they were robbed. This is for security reasons. Lu Huilai hurriedly turned back. Which man is standing behind him? It will be troublesome if he is robbed. What's the matter with you? Lu Huilai shut her mouth immediately when she saw that the man behind her was Fan Jiangguo. My heart suddenly hung up. How long would Fan Jiangguo stand behind his quilt? Is it possible that Fan Jiangguo found that he had no money in his bank book? Fan Jiangguo helped her put the money into her bag and told the bank counter staff with a smile. "Thank you, comrade, this is my wife. I'm just worried about her, so I came here to take a look." The staff laughed and said, "We were also asking, how can we let a pregnant woman with a big belly come to withdraw money? If she withdraws so much money, if she encounters a robbery, something will really happen. You are here at the right time. This is okay. You can take it easy, please pay attention to your safety." Fan Jiangguo said thank you repeatedly. Helped Lu Huilai to the side. Lu Huilai was anxious and wondered if Fan Jiangguo had seen the amount of money in the passbook. "But I didn't dare to ask. Where's my mom, didn't you go pick her up?" Fan Jiangguo helped her out and said, "I forgot to lock the car just now." "Then let's go pick up my mother now." Lu Huilai glanced at Fan Jiangguo's face. There was no anger on his face. I felt a little comforted, but it seemed I might not have noticed. "I have already taken out the money. You can send it to someone else's food factory tomorrow. Hands his bag to Fan Jiangguo. Fan Jiangguo took the bag and saw that it contained 40,000 yuan. But there was an indescribable depression in his heart. After seeing this, he would feel panicked if he didn't ask, but he was afraid that if he asked, it would be the answer he imagined. When you hand over money to your wife, you really trust Lu Huilai. Although Lu Huilai has some minor problems, who can be without them? There are still many problems with me. You can't distrust your wife just because of this. Although the daughter-in-law often took things from her parents' house or subsidized her parents' family a little money in the past, as long as it was within her own ability, he turned a blind eye. After all, my daughter-in-law is the eldest child in the family, so it is normal for her to pay a little more sometimes. The mother-in-law's family is not having a good life, but she is living a comfortable life, so she can only subsidize her if she can. But now there is a total of 60,000 yuan missing from the bank book, and Fan Jiangguo feels his heart is clogged. It would take him a year to earn back the 60,000 yuan. The money he had worked hard to earn for a year suddenly disappeared. The wife is still pretending to be fine, just like a normal person. Fan Jiangguo still couldn't hold it back. Daughter-in-law, please give me your bank book. He hoped that Lu Huilai would tell the story herself, so that even if the daughter-in-law gave the money to her mother's family, he would know where to use it. This is 60,000 yuan. How could an ordinary family use such a large amount of money? Even if Lu Huilai's brother wants to get married, it only costs a few hundred or thousands of dollars. This is tens of thousands of dollars. It's not that Fan Jiangguo didn't believe Lu Huilai, but when so much money suddenly disappeared from his bank book, he couldn't help but feel suspicious. Why do you need a passbook? I keep it here all the time, and I will take out the money for you, so why do you need a passbook? Lu Huilai tightly clenched the purse in her hand. Inside was the blank passbook, with the balance on it already reduced to zero. Daughter-in-law, if you have anything to worry about, just tell me. We are a couple, and we will shoulder any big things together, but you can't lie to me. Fan Jiangguo's face turned red. There was really nothing he could do. He knew this was an unpleasant thing to say, but he couldn't help it. He felt that he did not even have the courage to walk out of the bank lobby. Fan Jiangguo, what do you mean? What did I lie to you about? Lu Huilai continued to bluff. She felt a little regretful why she didn't ask Fan Jiangguo to pick up her mother first, if her mother was here. At least he had a shield. Fan Jiangguo was always embarrassed to question himself in front of his mother. But now there is no place to hide. If Fan Jiangguo insists on his own way and takes out his bank book, what he has done will be exposed all of a sudden. How much money is left in the passbook now? Fan Jiangguo doesn't understand that he has given Lu Huilai a chance. Is it so difficult to be honest with him? Where did the 60,000 yuan go? Any man needs an explanation. The property in this family was earned through his hard work. Don't you even have the right to ask? No wonder Lu Huilai is unwilling to let herself do the fruit business today. It turns out that the crux is here. The family has no money, so what kind of business can they do? Fan Jiangguo felt a little angry. Fan Jiangguo, you did it on purpose, didn't you? You just knew that there was no money in the passbook. You were asking me on purpose, didn't you? Lu Huilai asked Fan Jiangguo in a low voice. I did it on purpose. As soon as I entered the bank, I heard the staff saying that there was no money in the passbook. You withdrew 40,000 yuan. Do you want to cancel the passbook? What's going on? Where did the 60,000 yuan go? Fan Jiangguo tried to keep his tone calm. He didn't want Lu Huilai to be too excited. After all, Lu Huilai now has her own child in her belly. Even for the sake of the child in her belly, she can't go too far. You doubt me? Yes. I used the money. But I didn't spend it randomly. I used the money to do business. You can make money, and I also want to prove myself. I can also make money. Every time I ask you to give me money to subsidize my parents' family. You didn't realize what you were looking at. You don't look down on our family at all. Otherwise, I can use this method to make money myself. Lu Huilai decided to break the pot. The matter has been exposed, even if she didn't say it. As long as Fan Jiangguo takes out his bank book, he will know for sure. Besides, people have already heard what the staff said, so there is no point in quibbling. What business do you want to do that costs 60,000 yuan? You don't even discuss this with me. Even if you want to do business, if you discuss it with me, I will agree. But you don't discuss it with me at all. The two of us live as a family. But you want to hide it from me. I don't understand why. Am I not treating you well? Isn't it bad for your family? Fan Jiangguo felt aggrieved. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 695. Chapter 695 Premature Birth. You are kind to me, but you never let me use the money you earn. My natal brother is getting married soon, and I want to ask you to give him 1,000 yuan to get married, but what did you say? You say I am a sister. How can a sister help her brother hold a wedding? It's okay to give a gift as a brother-in-law, but the 1,000 yuan for a brother's wedding is a bit excessive. You only gave me 100 yuan. 100 yuan is enough for anything, not even a bride price, let alone how many big items are required for a wedding now. I'm not forced by you. If I don't find a way to make money myself, what will I do for my brother to get married? Lu Huilai was also aggrieved, and she was not wrong. She just wants to earn some pocket money for herself. Is this wrong? Fan Jiangguo felt panicked. You want to subsidize your mother's family. I didn't say I won't allow you to subsidize it, but you can't be the eldest sister to pay for your brother's marriage. If you pay for this brother, then you will have to pay for the younger brothers and sisters below. Pay. This should have been the responsibility of your parents. When will it be your sister's turn to take care of your younger brothers and sisters when they get married? You have this condition for marrying me now. If you didn't marry me, marry an ordinary person. Can their family afford this money? Don't you eat or drink at home, drink the northwest wind, and then help you marry your brother? Is it wrong if I disagree? I just do it for our family, and our children. Fan Jiangguo felt angry because his wife was not clear about what she was doing. He had never said that he would not help his wife's family, but there was a limit to how much he could help. How could he, a brother-in-law, do all the work? Now, he, the brother-in-law, pays for the tuition fees for his younger brother and sister who are in school. This is interesting enough, and he does not feel that he has gone too far. It is impossible for him, the brother-in-law, to take part in everything that happens in his mother's family. No one makes this sense. I didn't see how arrogant Lu Huilai's eldest brother who was about to get married was. He told himself that the bride's family wanted 800 yuan as a bride price, as well as a TV, a refrigerator, a washing machine, and a motorcycle, all of which he still wanted. Bought him a house. Fan Jiangguo's money did not come from strong winds, but was earned through his own hard work and ability. Can't let others ruin it like this. Fan Jiangguo, don't you just look down on our family. Let me tell you, I will use the 60,000 yuan to do business. What do you think I should do? If you are not happy, then we will divorce now. The 60,000 yuan should be regarded as support for me and the children. You don't need to take care of the children in the future. Lu Huilai certainly knows that the child in her belly is her support. Fan Jiangguo will definitely not divorce her. Lu Huilai, don't go too far. The child in your belly is also my child. It's up to you alone to decide. If you say divorce, you'll get divorced. If you open your mouth and shut up, you'll get divorced. Do you think divorce sounds good? Fan Jiangguo couldn't help it, so he usually gave in to his wife. But my wife is too adventurous and often threatens herself with divorce. Then what do you want to do? I have already given the 60,000 yuan to Fang Ziyuai. It will take 3 months to get back the money. People say that for 60,000 yuan, you can earn 20,000 yuan in 3 months. In 1 year, you can earn 20,000 yuan, earning tens of thousands of dollars. I was forced to do so by you. If you don't pay for my natal brother, I can only find a way on my own. All the money has been taken out now. Even if you regret it, I can't give you any money now. Lu Huilai also knows that she is unreasonable, even if she goes to divorce her mother now. Is it possible that the 60,000 yuan can really be yours? Fang Ziyuai, why are you dragging Fang Ziyuai into this? Didn't I tell you to stay away from that Fang Ziyuai? That kid is very mean-spirited. He got you involved at some point. Why didn't you listen to me? And happened to get together with Fang Ziyuai. Fan Jiangguo really hates the fact that iron cannot become steel. Why does his wife not listen to him? Fang Ziyuai is your eldest sister's daughter after all, her biological daughter. She has such a good way to make a fortune, why don't I use it? You. Fan Jiangguo was so angry that his brain ached. Lu Huilai suddenly grabbed Fan Jiangguo's arm. Jiangguo is not going well, I have a stomachache. Fan Jiangguo was startled, and hurriedly helped his wife out and got into the car, and drove to the hospital. There is a staff hospital near my mother-in-law. Half an hour later, Lu Huilai gave birth to a daughter. After receiving the news, Mrs. Fan and Fan Jiuying hurried over. The baby was originally born in more than a month, so why was the baby born so early? Only when I got to the hospital did I find out that the doctor said that the baby was born thin and small. It is now in an insulated box. Mrs. Fan looked at her granddaughter in the incubator. She was thin and small. I don't know where all the meat that Lu Huilai gained from eating so much went. She only allowed herself to gain some meat, but didn't give any to her child. The child looked pitiful, and the doctor said it was not certain whether he would survive. After all, she was born 1 month premature and the baby was not doing well. Without saying a word, Fan Jiangguo already paid 20,000 yuan to the hospital. This child lives in an incubator, which costs 50 a day. Ordinary families simply cannot afford to live there. Not to mention having to take injections and medicine. Lu Huilai's condition is not good either. She suffered a massive hemorrhage when giving birth and had to transfuse more than a dozen bags of plasma. She is now as pale as a ghost. Lu Huilai's rescue was ultimately due to Fan Jiangguo, if not for Fan Jiangguo's blood type being the same as Lu Huilai's. In the end, the hospital ran out of plasma, so it was Fan Jiangguo's blood that helped Lu Huilai finally recover. Fan Jiangguo lost too much blood and collapsed. Old Mrs. Fan got angry when she saw this, and her eyes immediately turned dark. Fan Jiuying hurriedly sent Mrs. Fan back home and asked her to stay here. She said that she could not help her much, and she also got angry. Settled at home and let Zhang Yu watch for a while. She and Zhang Lishi rushed to the hospital without stopping. There were now 3 people lying in the hospital. My brother and his family are all lying in the hospital now, and they can't do anything about it. As soon as I arrived at the hospital, I saw Lu Huilai's mother, Wang Gawa. Wang Gawa also just received the news and hurried to the hospital. Only when she arrived at the hospital did she know that her daughter was bleeding heavily. Not to mention the premature birth, the baby is still in the incubator, the son-in-law also collapsed due to the blood transfusion given to her daughter, and the whole family is lying in the hospital. She is so anxious. My poor child, what's wrong with you? Why were you born so early? This is a big sin. Fan Jiuying glanced at Wang Gawa. From the moment she arrived at the hospital, Wang Gawa had been staying in front of her daughter, without even taking a look at her son-in-law and granddaughter. It was as if her brother did not exist. I also felt a little unhappy in my heart. No matter what, he was still his biological brother. Even if this mother-in-law was just trying to save face, she should at least show off. How can your son-in-law still be lying in the hospital without even looking at him? Besides, my brother ended up like this just to save his daughter. Wangawa only stayed in the hospital ward for half a day, and then he hurried home because he had something to do at home. Fan Xiuying has nothing to do, no one cares what she can do. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 696. Chapter 696 I Will Keep You Safe. 2 days later, Fan Jiangguo finally got up from the hospital. Because he lost too much blood, he also had a day of blood transfusions, and then another day of fluid transfusions before he was allowed to leave the hospital. In this way, the body is a little deficient, and it is easy to feel dizzy when getting up. Lu Huilai and her child will continue to be in the hospital. The resident doctor said that Lu Huilai's current condition will be that she will stay in the hospital for at least a week. It may take longer for the child, because the child now has pneumonia and a fever, and his condition is very critical. Fan Jiangguo was so anxious that he was at a loss what to do. Fan Xiuying could do nothing but comfort her younger brother. She could only take care of her sister-in-law, wife and children without complaint. In just 1 week, Fan Jiangguo was already unshaven. The child's condition was very serious. He spent all the 40,000 yuan in his hand, and the child was notified of critical illness twice. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't know about this at all. Zhang Xiaoxiao and Song Moding were looking for glutinous rice and steamed buns all over the world. As soon as there is a clue somewhere, the couple will immediately rush to that place by car. Old Mrs. Wu and Mr. Wu have moved to the Song family. The 2 old ladies and the old man brought their 2 aunts to help Mrs. Song take care of the reunion of the twin sisters. The 4 old men knew that Song Moding and the others were looking for the 2 children and would not give up until they found them. However, as time passed, they began to beat in their hearts. The police also told them that the longer they searched, the more likely they would not be able to find the child. Because the clues are too difficult to find. Here, Fang Xiaowai took the money in her bag and went directly to Brother Yang's house. Brother Yang saw a lewd smile on Fang Xiaowai's face. Hey, Nurse Fang is here. Unexpectedly, after not seeing her for more than a month, Fang Xiaowai looks even more beautiful. Fang Xiaowai took out 20,000 yuan from her bag and put it on the table. Here is 20,000 yuan, I will give you the rest in 2 months. Where are the photos? Fang Xiaowai tried her best to ignore the lewd gaze of the man in front of her, and looked over her body with a squinting look. Here are the photos, here you go, I'll give you both the photos and the negatives. Brother Yang threw over an envelope, and Fang Xiaowai opened it. Inside was indeed a set of negatives, as well as those unsightly photos. Give it all to me, I haven't paid you the money yet, so you gave me all the photos and negatives. Who are you kidding? Fang Xiaowai didn't believe that Brother Yang would be so generous. This man is more cunning and difficult than she imagined. Brother Yang walked up to Fang Xiaowai and said, Who among us is with whom? How could I not give it to you? Now you are my woman. I gave you the photo, so what does it matter? If you dare to go back on your word, I will not even give it to you. I can clearly see where there is a mole or a scar on my body. What would you do if I told your man about this? He lifted Fang Xiaowai's chin frivolously and slowly wanted to kiss her. He was slapped open by Fang Xiaowai. How dare you hit me? It seems you really like it? If you don't drink it, you'll have to drink it as a fine. Brother Yang touched his face and showed a cold expression. Fang Xiaowai panicked, Don't mess around. What are you afraid of? It's not the first time for both of us. Brother Yang picked up Fang Xiaowai with all his strength and went to the back room regardless of Fang Xiaowai's resistance. Fang Xiaowai is really anxious. Let me go, let me go. She underestimated how dirty this man was. But she had no one who could help her. She wanted to make Brother Yang die right away, but her bad luck charm and all the talismans used on Brother Yang didn't seem to work. Fang Xiaowai thinks why her journey has not been smooth. Zhang Xiaoxiao is also reborn, and she is also reborn. With such a strong system, everyone she meets has a way to deal with her. Shouldn't he come back with the system himself and kill everyone, so that the wind and rain will prevail? What is it now? So frustrated? Brother Yang smiled grimly. Why bother pretending? You don't know that the two of us have already had an affair. Is there any difference between once and twice? Why are you pretending to be a chaste and fierce woman? Brother Yang now completely ignores the photos and negatives. He already has another way to control Fang Xiaowai. Fang Xiaowai saw that Brother Yang was already taking off his clothes, and she became anxious. She was unwilling to have anything to do with this man to her death. In haste, wisdom arises. Don't mess around. I already have your child. It's only been a month and the situation is not stable. As soon as he said this, Brother Yang immediately paused suspiciously. Fang Xiaowai secretly regretted how she could say such a thing. Brother Yang also looked at Fang Xiaowai playfully. My child? Are you kidding me? Don't put your man's child on my head. I don't believe that Lian Xiaowai's speech in front of him. This woman is very cunning, and he has played with this woman several times, and he has already knew it. This woman lies a lot, don't take anything she says too seriously. Fang Xiaowai said hurriedly when she saw that Brother Yang didn't believe her. This child is indeed yours. I just found out today. The child is only 1 month old. A month ago, my husband went on a business trip for half a month. Where do you think this child came from? Fang Xiaowai was embarrassed and angry when she said these words. Brother Yang calculated the time and found that it was indeed a month ago when he had an affair with Fang Xiaowai. If it is true what Fang Xiaowai said, her husband was on a business trip abroad at that time. Then let's not talk about it. This child is really hers. A woman like Fang Xiaowai is good looking and has a stable job. It is impossible for this kind of person to have with others. Brother Yang burst out laughing. Ouch! I didn't expect that my brother Yang would be so lucky in this life. He couldn't even get a wife. Actually, someone can still give birth to a child for me. Okay, okay. If you have a child, you should give birth to it well. No matter what, whether she is a boy or a girl, she will be blessed in the future. Brother Yang's happy expression made Fang Xiaowai want to kill this man directly and also wanted to give birth to herself. Is it possible that you don't want to give me a child? Let me tell you, if you dare to kill my child secretly, don't blame me for being cruel. I know you have a 3-year-old daughter. By then she will, if something happens, don't blame me for being cruel. I can sell the 2 children to the deep mountains and old forests. The 3-year-old girl can be sold to the deep mountains and old forests to be used as child brides for others. That is also very popular. Brother Yang has long seen the disdain for him in Fang Xiaowai's eyes. Of course, how could a woman like her have feelings for him? Had I not forced her to do so, this child would not have been possible. Fang Xiaowai also knew that her expression revealed her inner thoughts. Don't worry, I will give birth to this child. For the sake of this child, please stop making things difficult for me and give me all the photos and negatives. Brother Yang laughed and said, don't worry, for the sake of this child, I will never harm you. In order for my child to be raised well by you, he can also succeed in the future and become a doctor or nurse or something like that. I must protect you well and make you live a happy life. Otherwise, how can I be worthy of my child? Brother Yang opened a brick from the corner under the bedboard and pulled out a bag from behind the brick. As expected, There were backup photos and negatives inside. I'm all burned today. As long as you give birth to the child well, I can help you in any way you want me to. You don't need to give me any more money. I will definitely protect you from now on. Comprehensive. Brother Yang can be considered a man, and he is able to give up so many things for his children. Fang Zihui was thinking about it. Brother Yang's words suddenly made her have another idea. Although Fang Zihui wished that Brother Yang would die, it would not be a bad thing if Brother Yang could help him. For example, the reason why we can sell glutinous rice and steamed buns to such a long distance this time is because of Brother Yang's helper. If she had to rely on herself, she wouldn't have this way. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 697. Chapter 697, Digging Bird Eggs. Gauden is cutting pigweed in the yard. Lately, his father no longer needs to chain him, seeing that he is quite diligent in his work and obedient. However, his mother and sister still stared at him closely, as if they were afraid that something would happen to him alone. Gauden is now accustomed to this life. Every day before dawn, he wakes up, has breakfast, and goes up the mountain to hunt pigweed with his sister. Although his calves are short and he can't do much, he still works hard. He wanted to make his father happy. If dad is unhappy, he will beat them with a belt and a bamboo whip. Although he was beaten the least, he knew that the feeling of the belt hitting people was very unpleasant. He once wanted to go outside to see the pheasants and ducks by the river, but his father bumped into him, took him back, and beat him severely with a belt. That night, he was in so much pain that he could not sleep all night. Sleep. It will take several days for the injuries on my body to heal. The belt hurts more than the bamboo whip. From then on, he knew that his father did not want him to go out. Even if he goes out, his mother and sister must follow him. He knew that he was the eyeball of the family, and his father only had his only son. If something happened to him, neither my mother nor my sister will survive. Gauden tried hard to become a man. There was a boy at the door. Hey, what's your name? Gauden looked at the boy. The boy looked familiar, but he couldn't remember who the boy was. My name is Gauden. Who are you? I am a pillar. Baizai looked at Tang Yuan, who was working with distress. It took him more than a month to get over his adoptive father's wariness. Now he can go out and play like all the children in the village. It was because his adoptive father saw that he stayed here wholeheartedly. Since the first time he went out, his adoptive father had sent people to follow him secretly. Now, he just goes up the mountains and down to the fields, and comes back after playing nonsense for a long time. His adoptive father has become accustomed to it, because he knew he couldn't get out either. This mountain is connected to mountains. If you want to go out, you have to walk for at least 10 days and 10 nights using your legs. There are many wild beasts and poisonous snakes in the jungle. If there are no villagers to guide the way, and just a child can get out, he will not be able to get out of this forest even if he dies. It's not like there aren't children in the village who want to escape, but when they are finally found, they are either dying of hunger, or their bodies are completely gone. Zuzu, please don't come to my house. My father said you won't be allowed to play with my brother. Lottie suddenly appeared and drove the pillar away in a menacing manner. Zuzu said sarcastically, "Lady, why are you so fierce? I only talked to your brother because I saw him feeling bored all alone. There are no children in the whole village like your brother. He is like a little girl, spending all day long locked up at home. You see, my father released me a long time ago. I run all over the mountains and fields, and I can do any kind of work." Zuzu pointed to the sickle in his hand. He was also preparing to go up the mountain to cut pigweed. Lady glanced at the pillar and said, "You are different from my brother. You hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I will call my father and see if he can beat you. Lady said threateningly. Who in the village doesn't know that Gaudenir's father is a tyrant in the village, and who can beat his father? Even 3 or 5 grown men couldn't beat his father. Zuza said angrily, it's so kind that I don't get rewarded. I originally asked you two to go up the mountain to catch pigweed. I found 2 nests of bird eggs in the tree bird's nest on the mountain that day. I originally wanted to take you with me. My son went to beat pigweed and touched the bird's eggs, and we roasted them and ate them together. If you don't go, you'll be offended. I thought I wanted to take you there. I'll go find Go Shenger and the others. They are cute and eat roasted bird eggs. Speaking, he deliberately swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Sure enough, when Lottie heard this, he couldn't help but swallowed his saliva. Seeing Zuzu ready to leave, he hurriedly stopped Zuzu. Zuzu, don't go away. Gaudenir and I will go up the mountain with you with sickles to cut the pigweed. I just said it to scare you. How can you take it seriously? By the way, you are such a little kid, how can you still do it, climb a tree and you can actually pull out bird eggs? Lottie and his family are poor and often don't have enough to eat. They always go up the mountain to find some wild fruits or something to eat. But this season has already reached late autumn, and the wild fruits on the mountains have long since disappeared. Besides, before she could pick them, all the other children in the village would have picked them all, and now it was hard to even find wild vegetables. The food at home is getting worse every day. The half bowl of wild vegetable porridge in the morning was said to be wild vegetable porridge, but in fact it was thin and watery. I'm already hungry now. Otherwise she would feel so hungry after hearing the bird eggs. Zuzu smiled and said, don't underestimate me. I'm very good at climbing trees. You won't believe it. I asked Go Sheng and them to go. I've dug out birds' nests several times recently. The eggs are delicious when baked. Once, that there were actually 12 eggs in the bird's nest, and each of them ate 3. These words made Lottie even hungrier. Hurry to urge Gauden. Gaudenir, don't talk nonsense here, hurry up and get the sickle and the backpack. Let's leave quickly. Maybe we can eat bird eggs today. Gaudenir also swallowed eagerly, and his stomach growled with hunger. Suddenly his eyes lit up because he saw a small pocket hidden inside Zuzu's clothes. The small pocket looked familiar to him, as if he also had such a pocket. But where does this pocket go? But Zuzu said, don't be anxious. Look at your and your brother's feet. Can you go out? Gaudenir has no shoes at all. He is basically barefoot at home. His family is poor, so if he has a pair of shoes, he can only wear them when going out. Of course, when you go up the mountain to cut pig grass, chop firewood, etc., you wear straw sandals. Lottie slapped himself on the forehead. He had been so busy thinking about the bird eggs that he had forgotten about it. Hurrying to the backyard, the straw sandals and other items had been washed and hung to dry on the windowsill in the backyard. Zuzu saw Lottie walking away, took out a pink thing and stuffed it into Tang Yuan's mouth. Tang Yuan looked at the pillar in confusion. What's this? Stop talking, swallow it first. After swallowing it, look for the bag hanging around your neck in the house. Once you find it, take it out secretly. Let's go up the mountain quickly. Zuzu didn't know what was going on with Tang Yuan, but he knew that something was wrong with Tang Yuan because Tang Yuan didn't know him and had forgotten many things. Tang Yuan was very obedient, just like all the children in this village. Accept the consequences. And consider this place as your own home. I can't let my brother become like this, and I can't let Tang Yuan become this all his life. He always remembered that his mother said that if they find that they become strange or feel particularly uncomfortable, they must take a pill in this pocket. This pill can help them. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 698. Chapter 698, Helpless. Tang Yuan swallowed the pill. He didn't know what the pillar in front of him meant. But he knew where the pocket was because he had discovered it a few days ago. Hidden by his mother in a broken jar in the corner. The jar is still full of things, otherwise it would not be discovered at all. Although he didn't know what was in the bag, he knew it must be something very important. Now when Zuzu said this, he immediately ran into the house, turned out the bag in the jar, hung it around his neck and stuffed it into his clothes. By the time Gaudana came out, Lottie had already run over from the backyard holding 2 pairs of straw sandals. Lady was 10 years old. When she went to the backyard just now, she suddenly remembered that she had left her brother alone in the front yard. If he ran out, she would be beaten to death by her father. Just then he hurriedly ran back and saw Gaudana and Zuzu standing at the door waiting for him, and felt relieved. Lottie and Gaudana put on their straw sandals, carried their backpacks, and followed the pillar with their sickles up the mountain. No one in the village cares about this. The children have to go up the mountain to collect pig grass and cut firewood all day long. This is something that children in every family must do. After Zuzu went up the mountain, he found an open area. Sure enough, he climbed up the tree with his hands and feet neatly and took out 2 eggs from the bird's nest in the tree. Lottie was so excited that the 2 bird eggs were also eggs. Zuzu took out several bird eggs from bird nests in other trees, and took out a total of 12 bird eggs. The tree was under the pillar. Lottie, don't just look at it, hurry up and find firewood, let's make a fire and roast the eggs. Otherwise, how will we eat the eggs? Looking at the bird eggs held in Zuzu's arms, Lottie nodded eagerly. Gauden, come with me, let's collect firewood and roast the bird's eggs when we come back. Godan was sitting under the tree in confusion, looking at Lottie with a confused expression. What did you call me? The pillar secret passage is not good. Tang Yuan should have some reaction now. Let him look at the eggs here while you go find firewood. I'll dig out 2 more birds' nests and maybe even more. We'll have enough to eat today. Speaking, he smiled and raised the bird eggs in his hand. Lottie shook his head stubbornly. No, my father said. I have to watch Gaudana. If anything happens to Gaudana, I won't be able to survive. Zuzu was so anxious that he couldn't take the person away even though he had reached this stage. But he couldn't force it. Their combined age was only 7 years. If Lottie is forced to shout loudly, all the villagers in the village will catch up. Don't tell them to run away then, the 2 of them may have their legs broken. Even though his father seemed kind, he had seen his father break his mother's legs with his own eyes. It's okay if his leg is broken, but he's afraid that he won't be able to escape with the glutinous rice balls. He could only smile and say, okay, Gauden, go and collect firewood with your sister. Tang Yuan looked at Baizai doubtfully. What is brother Baizai talking about? Why do you call yourself Gaudana? When did he change his name to Gaudana? Go quickly. Baizai pushed a handful of glutinous rice and whispered instructions to the glutinous rice balls. Don't ask anything, don't say anything. Tang Yuan blinked. Brother Baizai had always been smarter than him. He knew that since brother Baizai said that, there must be a reason. Immediately and obediently followed the strange young lady in front of me to collect firewood. Actually, he has many questions in his mind. Just now he suddenly woke up, as if everything around him had become so strange. This strange place, with strange people around, except brother Baizai, looked at himself and brother Baizai wearing such tattered clothes, especially the pair of straw sandals on their feet, and he could tell. I have become darker and thinner, and my originally round toes have now become dry. Brother Baizai has lost a lot of weight. If he hadn't been playing with brother Baizai all year round, he wouldn't have recognized the man in front of him. There were so many questions in his heart, but he knew that this was not the time to ask. He followed the young lady in front of him to pick up a lot of firewood and came back. Three men lit the firewood. Looking at brother Bayazai burying the eggs under the branches, his stomach began to growl. Tang Yuan squatted next to Bayazai. Lady looked at those warm eggs with longing in his heart. Bayazai felt guilty, knowing that if he ran away with Tang Yuan, the little girl in front of him would definitely be beaten severely by her father when she went back. But what can he do? He couldn't put the two of them in this situation and never leave just for the kindness in his heart. Mom and Dad must be anxious. They didn't know where the two of them were being sent. He just knew that Bayazai followed the second aunt out that day. He heard Bayazai say that the second aunt told Bayazai to take Bayazai to eat good food. He remembered that his mother and father said that this second aunt was not a good person, and besides, his parents did not associate with this second aunt at all. He followed anyway. But he didn't remember what happened next. He only remembered a pain in the back of his head, and then he fainted. When he woke up again, he and Bayazai had already arrived in this small mountain village. I wonder who does such an immoral thing? He knew that they must have encountered human traffickers. Based on his experience, of course, when you get here, you have to be honest and do your duty, otherwise it will be easy to break your legs. With his intelligence, it would be easy for him to win over his adoptive father. After all, he has rich experience and has met so many traffickers, and he is not living in the hands of one person. How could he not know how to make his adoptive father relax his inner vigilance? He is very free. The problem is that Tang Yuan is not free at all. He originally tried to say hello to Tang Yuan, but he found that Tang Yuan didn't seem to remember him at all. Every time he walked past the door, Tang Yuan looked at him with a strange look, as if he didn't recognize himself at all. Mr. Bayazai was secretly surprised. Of course he can also see that Tang Yuan really regards these parents as his own parents now. Tang Yuan has adapted very well to the life of being a dog danner. What does this mean? Tang Yuan has undergone changes that he doesn't know about. That's why he gave Tang Yuan the pill at the beginning, because he felt that the change in Tang Yuan must have a lot to do with them being sold here. Tang Yuan couldn't tell what kind of medicine he was given by those people. Now that Tang Yuan is awake, the two brothers can finally escape. Hurry up and eat it while it's hot, the egg won't taste good if it's cold. Bayazai divided the 12 eggs into 3 parts, keeping only 2 for himself, giving 5 glutinous rice and 5 to Lottie. The only thing he could use to make up for his guilt were these eggs. Lady peeled off the skin of the eggs and put the hot eggs into his mouth. I was immediately attracted by the delicious taste. After eating 5 eggs, I didn't even feel full in my stomach. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lucky Bag is Reborn with Space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 699. Chapter 699 Escape. After eating the bird eggs, Lottie felt warm in his stomach and began to have a good impression of Zuzu. Zuzu, you are so capable, why don't you go dig out a few more bird eggs? Lottie compliments the pillar. Of course she knew she didn't have that ability. If she could climb a tree and dig out bird eggs, she would have done it long ago. Zuzi looked at it awkwardly. Okay, it seems it's still early today, but when I'm cutting pigweed later, you have to help me cut more. Lady nodded. Don't worry, I'll finish eating the eggs in a while, and I'll go cut the pig grass for you. You can rest here for a while. It doesn't take much to cut the pigweed. If she cuts more pigweed, she can get a few more bird eggs to eat. She will be happy. Zuza nodded. The firewood is all gone, or you go and pick up some more firewood. Let Gaudaniar learn to climb the tree with me. If he doesn't learn how to dig out bird eggs, he can't let me climb up every time. Dig out bird eggs. Your brother learns to pick out bird eggs, and you will no longer have to worry about having bird eggs to eat. These words immediately moved Lottie. looking at Gauden with shining eyes. Gauden follow Zuzu and learn to climb trees, and learn how to dig out bird eggs. We will have bird eggs to eat in the future. Tang Yuan looked at the tree in embarrassment. I can't climb trees. What he wants to say is that he climbed trees when he was only 3 years old. Doesn't this make things difficult for him? But Lottie looked down. What can't you do? Zuzu can learn it, but why can't you learn it? Zuzu isn't much bigger than you. Hurry up, if you can't learn to climb a tree, I'll take it from you when you get back. Dad's whip will beat you. Threatening with raised fist. It is true that like father, like daughter. The last trace of Beazai's guilt disappeared. Okay, I have picked up the firewood long ago when you were talking nonsense. I took Gauden to walk over there. We have all touched the trees here, and there are no eggs for a long time. Go over there. If you feel around, there may be quite a few in the woods. He pointed to the woods over there. Lady nodded and glanced at Gaudana worriedly. Then you have to take good care of my brother. Beazai nodded. Okay, pick up more firewood, just in case I find 2 nests of more than 20 eggs at once. How can this little firewood be enough to roast the eggs? He took the glutinous rice and left. Lottie hurriedly went to collect firewood. It's hard to fight for this little food. Beazai walked faster and faster with the glutinous rice balls, and quickly disappeared into the woods. Stop talking, let's leave quickly. Beazai has been wandering around the mountains a lot recently. In the name of collecting pig grass and firewood, he wandered around the mountains all over. In fact, this village is really remote, because it is deep in the mountains, and there are only a few mountains, so it is impossible to climb out of this village. But if you walk out on your own feet, adults will get lost in this jungle, let alone children. Beazai has recently made a plan. The only thing he can think of is to drill into the deep mountains. Although the deep mountains and old forests are dangerous, he found a hidden tree hole nearby. The bushes in front of the tree hole were dense and no one noticed it. The two of them first hid in a tree hole and waited for the adults to find them for 2 days. They thought they might have escaped and gave up the search before taking action again. Of course, he also deliberately saved a lot of bird eggs in this tree hole, just to store some food for them both. Although he knew that this behavior was more risky, there was no way he and Tang Yuan could stay here forever. Tang Yuan seemed to understand, holding her brother's hand, and quickly got into the woods. Although he didn't know what his brother was going to do, he knew that this place was not his home. Brother must take him away. As soon as he got into the tree hole, he heard Lottie's heart-rending shouts coming from the woods. Gauden, pillars, where are you? Tang Yuan glanced at the bun and said, Brother, Lottie is actually very pitiful. If I lose her, she will definitely be beaten when she goes back. Beazai glanced outside and said, we can't be good Samaritans. What's going on with the two of us? You have to know that we are selling here now. If they catch the two of us, our legs will be broken. If you want to be unable to leave here for the rest of your life, then go and save Lottie. It's not that he is cruel, he has long been used to people betraying others after showing good intentions. Even though he is only 4 years old, he has experienced more things than an adult. Tang Yuan shut up. He wanted to go home. 2 people were hiding in the bushes. They didn't know what time it was, but they knew they couldn't go out. Because there were many people shouting in the woods, the whole village must have been mobilized to look for them in the woods. At the beginning, the 2 people could hear the shouts of many villagers. Gradually, these voices became less and less. Until later, these voices only left some sparse voices, and in the end there were no voices at all. But Beazai didn't dare to let down his guard. He didn't know if these people had set a trap. Pretend not to look for them anymore, and catch them after they get out. He has encountered this kind of thing before. At such a young age, he is already experienced in many battles and has rich experience. he has done this kind of thing of escaping from human traffickers. Of course, many times before he did not escape because he had nowhere to go. If you leave the traffickers and have no place to eat, it is better to be fed and clothed in the hands of the traffickers. But it's different now. Now he wants to escape with his brother. They want to go home, they want to find their parents. When two people are hungry, they eat raw bird eggs. Bayazai had accumulated more than 20 bird eggs in the cave, and the two of them only ate 2 at a time. However, the egg could not last for 2 days. By the second day, the two people's stomachs were already empty. Bayazai is anxious. Tang Yuan looked outside and said, "Brother, there is no one outside now, let's go. Let's wait a little longer, in case they are guarding outside and we happen to bump into each other when we go out, that would be bad." Suddenly paused, "You've seen that there's no one outside, right?" Bayazai wanted to call himself a fool. How could he forget that Tang Yuan had something that no one else had? Tang Yuan could see things that others couldn't. Tang Yuan nodded vigorously, feeling very proud that he was useful, otherwise he would be the one helping him every time he was with his brother. Brother is doing a lot of things, but he is like a fool and has no effect. Now he can finally play his part. Bayazai pulled Tang Yuan out of the bushes. The dazzling sunlight made both of them close their eyes involuntarily. They had not seen any light for 2 days, and now the light outside suddenly became very strong for them. The two of them had no choice but to lie down in the bushes. It took a long time before they finally got used to the light outside. Bayazai pulled the glutinous rice and started to look for the direction according to the skills Song Moding taught them. Dad told them a lot when he was training them. The place where the sun rises and where the sun sets can determine the direction, so they can go home as long as they walk eastward. End of this chapter. The lucky bag is reborn with space. Author, Floating World. Chapter 700. Chapter 700 Trap. Bayazai was reminded by Tang Yuan, and they bypassed the villagers who were guarding the intersection and wanted to catch them. Because of this, they walked around half the mountain before going back to the original direction. When he was hungry, Bayazai climbed into the trees to touch bird eggs and identified wild fruits he had known on the road. The two children were losing weight as quickly as possible. Bayazai and Tang Yuan were carrying 2 homemade sticks in their hands. After Tang Yuan was bitten by a venomous snake, the two people reacted quickly. Thanks to the pills in their bags, they swallowed 1 pill. Although they were fine, but both of them were shocked. After all, they are still children, and they are 3 or 4 years old. The two little brothers had no choice but to break branches and use them as sticks to beat while walking on the grass on the road to scare away the wild beasts and poisonous snakes. The two of them were walking around like this. Tang Yuan could no longer walk. The straw sandals on his feet were rotten and his toes were blistered. The feet were dripping with blood. Neither of them dared to waste the pills casually, because they did not have many pills. If they encountered poisonous snakes or other dangers on the road, these pills were kept to save lives. If you take this pill now just because you have blisters on your feet, it would really be a waste. But Tang Yuan can't walk now. Bayazai looked at the blood blisters on Tang Yuan's feet and took off the pair of straw sandals that were already rotten and unwearable. The straw sandals and the flesh on the feet are stuck together. Even if Bayazai uses the slightest movement, Tang Yuan will still cry out from the pain. Bayazai took off his cloth shoes with his thumbs exposed from his feet. But this won't work. Tang Yuan's feet are now like this. Even if he wears cloth shoes, his skin and flesh still have to stick to the cloth shoes. Bayazai hesitated. Well, let's take 2 days off. They didn't know how many days they had been walking, but based on sunrise and sunset, it was probably 10 days, but they still had not left the mountain. I don't know how deep this continuous mountain is. The two of them had little food to eat and drank raw water on the way. If it weren't for the pills, they would have fallen ill long ago. The buns can't even hold themselves up. They are just over 7 years old together. Tang Yuan nodded. He was so tired that he really wanted to lie down and fall asleep. It feels like all the roads in this life have been traveled in these few days. This mountain seems to be endless and there is no way to get out. Every night when he falls asleep, he dreams about his parents. But when you wake up from the dream, you will still return to the current situation. The dumplings cry. Beizai hugged Tang Yuan tightly and wiped his tears with his little black and dirty hands. Don't cry, Tang Yuan. We will definitely be able to get out. You think we can get out together? Mom and Dad are definitely looking for us. You sit here and don't move around. I'll find one of us. I can stay in a tree hole or cave for 2 days, and then find a way to find some food. Beizai also felt uncomfortable. He was the one who brought his brother out, but if he continues like this, the two of them will starve to death. The weather was getting colder and colder, and the clothes the two of them wore couldn't withstand the cold at night. There was nothing to eat or drink. He knew in his heart that if it weren't for the pills his mother gave him, the two of them might have died long ago. It's not just luck, it's because Tang Yuan's eyes played a role in navigation for them. If it weren't for Tang Yuan's eyes, they could avoid countless dangers. Maybe they encountered a black bear head-on, because once Tang Yuan actually saw a black bear behind a bush not far away. Had the two men not been alert and hid quickly, they might have fed the bear. From this time on, the two of them became more careful. Tang Yuan shook his head. Brother Beizai, don't look for it. I have already seen a cave on the stone wall not far ahead. There are no people or animals in the cave. And I saw a trap behind the trees. There is an injured animal in the trap. Tang Yuan felt that his eyes were getting better and better. In the past, he could only see things within 50 meters, but now it seems that this range is getting wider and wider. In the past, he would get a severe headache after watching it for a while, but now he has no problem watching it for half an hour at a time. Beizai was surprised. Could it be that there was a trap set by a hunter nearby, so there were animals in the trap? If there are animals, then they have something to eat. Give Tang Yuan a pill. Tang Yuan's feet are now back to normal, but he can't walk without shoes. Beizai took off his shoes and handed them to Tang Yuan. Tang Yuan shook his head. He wore shoes, but his brother had to go barefoot. Beizai smiled. You silly brother, I have an idea, just look at me. Climb up a tree and pick a few thick leaves, then wrap his feet with those leaves and tie the outside with rattan. Although it looks very rough, it doesn't even rest your feet when walking on the ground. Tang Yuan smiled and clapped happily around her brother. Brother Beizai, you are so smart. Let's go, little fool. Let's go and see what kind of animal is in that trap and see if we can get it out. Maybe we'll have something to eat. When the two of them thought about how to cook barbecue, their mouths immediately watered. They haven't had anything to fill their stomachs for a long time, and the number of bird eggs is also limited. In addition, those wild fruits, some of which are so sour, will make people's stomachs sour when they eat them. Some of them can make people vomit if eaten. And as they went further out, the weather got colder, and there was less and less edible food in the woods. If two people can eat meat, it will be like being in heaven. Beizai supported Tang Yuan and followed the route mentioned by Tang Yuan. They twisted and twisted until they finally saw the trap at the bottom of the hillside. This trap is actually not really a trap. Beizai knew at a glance that this was not an artificial trap, but a natural pit. It's just that there are some stones and branches in the pit, and the pit is indeed too deep. This animal probably fell in accidentally and then tried to escape. It probably didn't have the ability to escape. As for the animal in this trap, Beizai simply gasped after seeing it. There is actually a wounded wolf inside. This wolf has bad luck. He probably fell into the hole without paying attention from above. After a tree outside the hole was struck down by lightning, a branch was inserted into the hole. The wolf was pierced through his hind legs and abdomen by the branch. He just fell into the trap dripping with blood. Seeing someone coming, the injured wolf still stared at them fiercely and growled menacingly. When Bayezid recognized that it was a wolf, he completely gave up on eating meat. He didn't know if wolf meat could be eaten, but facing such a ferocious animal, the two of them wanted to eat it. Even if the wolf was injured, it would be okay to see the sharp teeth bite both of them. They'd better forget it. End of this chapter.